Hello, and welcome to the fifth and final module in this plagiarism tutorial, brought to you by the Bell Library and UCC Writing Center. In the previous module, we differentiated between quotations, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Today we will cover misuse of sources, ways to avoid plagiarism while writing, and we will recap everything we've covered so far. So how exactly do you misuse a source? Here are some ways in which that may happen. Incorrect documentation or quotation of source material. For example, if you don't use correctly formatted citations, such as no quotation marks or parentheses when they are needed. Failing to cite according to required citation style. For example, if a professor asks you to use APA for a paper and you use MLA, you are misusing the source because it is not correctly formatted to the way your professor has asked. Lastly, using material out of context. This takes away your credibility as an author, as it misrepresents the source material. It is important to know and understand your source material before using it. Now that we know how a source can be misused, how do we avoid plagiarism altogether? Firstly, we can find out at the beginning which citation style we're supposed to use, keep a working bibliography of the sources we find, use citation management software. A couple useful examples are PowerNotes and Zotero. The Bell Library actually has tutorials for these and can be found in the description below. Take notes of the full citations as you write, include in-text citations as you write, and never leave citations for later as you might forget. Some people have been known to write the words "cite here" instead of putting in the actual citation and then forget. Here is a writing technique that we recommend in order to avoid plagiarism. Step 1. Read the passage and reread it over again. Step 2. Set the passage aside to where you aren't looking at it. Step 3. Consider what the author is saying and say it aloud to yourself multiple times. Step 4. Write down in your own words what's being said. Step 5. Compare it to the original passage. Step 6. If it is still too similar to the original passage, repeat steps 1 to 5 until your writing is as desired. If in doubt, remember to always cite if you're unsure whether to cite or not. Better to be safe than sorry. One final piece of advice that we have is to ask for help. You can always ask your instructor, your peers, the librarians, and the Writing Center for help. Now let's review what we've learned in the previous modules. In module number 1, we introduced plagiarism, which is the use or misuse of somebody else's work without giving due credit. We also learned that plagiarism goes against the UCC Student Code of Conduct and can lead to disciplinary sanctions. In module number 2, we covered various forms of plagiarism, including cheating, which is borrowing or getting somebody else's work and submitting it under your own name, non-attribution, which is writing your own work but taking passages copied exactly from the work of another without giving credit, patch writing, which is when your writing is similar to the source material with small changes to wording and sentence structure. To avoid these forms of plagiarism, practice recognizing when to cite. Always cite information you do not consider common knowledge. If it includes numbers or came directly from the source, you should cite it. In module number 3, we talked about in-text citations, which are citations given within the body of the text itself, and bibliographical citation styles, specifically APA and MLA. In module number 4, we talked about quotation, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Quotation is a word-for-word reprinting of another person's words. Paraphrasing communicates the ideas of a source in one's own words, while summarizing focuses on the main points of a source, condensing the information. In this fifth and final module, we covered how misuse of a source can occur, a few different ways to avoid plagiarism, and we recapped all the previous modules. Thank you for watching all the modules in this plagiarism tutorial, brought to you by the Bell Library and UCC Writing Center. All our references, as well as other resources, can be found in the description below.